the Appalachian Mountains, there are trails that park rangers refuse to walk after dark. Not because of bears, not because of storms, because of what hikers keep hearing when no one else is there. The Appalachian Trail stretches over 2,000 miles through some of the most isolated wilderness in America. Every year, thousands of hikers walk these trails. But what most people don't know is how many of them never come back. Over 100 people have gone missing on this trail. Some were found days later with no memory of what happened. Others were never found at all. These are real stories, real people, and every single one of them started the same way, with footsteps on a quiet trail. In 2017, a solo hiker named Marcus set up camp near the border of Virginia and West Virginia. It was his third night on the trail. Around 2 a.m., he woke up to a sound. Knocking. Not on his tent, on the trees around him. One knock, then silence. Then another knock, from a different direction. Like something was circling him. Marcus grabbed his flashlight and unzipped his tent. The forest was completely still. No wind, no animals. But the knocking didn't stop. He pointed his flashlight toward the closest tree. And that's when he saw it. Scratch marks. Fresh ones. Running down the bark like something had dragged its nails across the wood. Marcus packed his gear in the dark and hiked 6 miles to the nearest road. He never went back. When rangers inspected the campsite the next morning, they found scratch marks on every tree within a 30-foot circle, all at the exact same height, 7 feet off the ground. But that's not even the most disturbing story from this trail. The next one happened in broad daylight. Sarah and her boyfriend Jake were day hiking in the Great Smoky Mountains, part of the Appalachian chain. It was a clear afternoon, nothing unusual, until Sarah heard someone calling her name. Sarah, Sarah, come here. The voice came from off the trail, deeper into the woods. It sounded exactly like Jake, but Jake was standing right next to her. She turned to him. Did you hear that? Jake nodded. His face was white. That was my voice, he said. That thing just spoke in my voice. They ran. They didn't stop until they reached the parking lot, and when they looked back at the trailhead, Sarah swears she saw a figure standing at the tree line, not moving, just watching. The Appalachian locals have a name for this. They call it a mimic, something in the woods that copies human voices to lure people off the trail. The rule is simple. If someone calls your name from the forest, don't answer. Don't follow. Just walk away. Mimics, scratch marks, missing hikers. But the next story is the one that park rangers still won't talk about.
In 2016, a man named David was through hiking the Appalachian Trail through Georgia. He'd been walking for 11 days straight. He knew the sounds of the forest by heartbirds, wind, branches cracking under deer hooves. But on the 12th night, he heard something new. Footsteps behind him, matching his pace exactly. When David walked, the footsteps walked. When David stopped, the footsteps stopped. Not a second later, not a half second, the exact same moment. Like whatever was behind him could predict when he would stop. David didn't turn around. He just walked faster. The footsteps walked faster. He started jogging. The footsteps started jogging. Then David did something he still can't explain. He stopped and started walking backward toward the sound. The footsteps didn't move. David took another step backward. Silence. Another step. Silence. Then he felt warm breath on the back of his neck. David ran. He ran for 3 miles without stopping. He ran until his legs gave out on a paved road near a gas station. The clerk inside said David was shaking so badly he couldn't hold a cup of water. David quit his through hike that night. He never went back to the trail. But he says, sometimes Late at night, when his house is completely silent, he still hears the footsteps, matching his pace. Step for step. Footsteps that match your pace. A voice that copies your friend. Scratch marks 7 feet off the ground. Whatever lives in these mountains, it's learning how we behave. And the next story proves it. This story comes from a park ranger who worked in the Smoky Mountains for over 20 years. He told this story once and then refused to talk about it ever again. It was October 2018. A hiker called in a report. She said there was a woman standing in the middle of the trail, about 2 miles from the nearest shelter. The woman wasn't moving. She wasn't speaking. She was just standing there, facing the wrong direction. The ranger drove out to investigate. He found the spot the hiker described, a narrow section of the trail, surrounded by thick trees on both sides. But there was no woman. He radioed back to the station. "Nothing here. Trail is clear." Then his radio crackled, and a voice came through. But it wasn't the station. It was a woman's voice, whispering, "I'm still here." The ranger looked around. Nobody. He checked his radio. The frequency was locked to the ranger channel. No civilian could broadcast on it. He walked back to his truck, and when he got in, he looked in his rearview mirror. A woman was standing on the trail behind him, exactly where he had just been, facing his direction this time. But her face. The ranger said her face was wrong. Like someone had tried to draw a human face from memory but couldn't get the proportions right. He drove away. He filed the report, and 2 weeks later, he put in his resignation. When his supervisor asked why, the ranger only said one thing: "Because she's still standing there. I checked the trail camera. She hasn't moved in 14 days. A creature that copies voices, footsteps that predict your movement, and now, something that looks almost human. Almost, but not quite." The people who study these mountains say the same thing. The Appalachian Trail is old. Older than America. Older than the native settlements. And whatever was here first never left. This one was posted on a hiking forum in 2020. The user deleted their account 3 days later. They wrote, "I was camping alone near McAfee Knob in Virginia. I woke up at 3 a.m. because I heard my tent zipper moving. Slowly, inch by inch. Something was unzipping my tent from the outside. I grabbed my knife and waited. The zipper stopped halfway. Then I heard breathing. Low, steady, right outside the opening. I didn't move for 4 hours. I didn't sleep. I just laid there with my knife and listened to something breathe outside my tent until the sun came up. When I finally looked outside, there was nothing. No tracks, no prints. But my zipper was open exactly halfway, and there was a single handprint on the outside of my tent. It had 6 fingers."
The Appalachian Trail is one of the most beautiful places in America. But when the sun goes down, the mountains remember things we've forgotten. If you made it to the end of this video, you're braver than most. But now that you know what hides in these woods, maybe think twice before hiking alone. Like this video if you want more Appalachian horror stories. Subscribe to Darkline Files before the trail finds you. And one last thing. If you ever hear someone calling your name from the woods, remember the rule. Don't answer.